So what's up? How we doing today? Welcome to episode 7, Inverting Chords. So this is where it starts to get really fun. I always, as a kid, loved the Choose Your Own Adventure books, and this is kind of like that for chords. So instead of just playing chords as is, we can play them in many different ways, and it has to do with what note is the lowest on the bottom, which we call like the bass note, right? So if we are playing a C major triad, right? You would have C, E, G, so the root, third, and fifth, but we don't have to always play it that way. We can play E, G, and C on top, right? And that is all specifically what is called a slash chord. As you can see in the chart here, C/E. So that's why they call it a slash chord. The slash, it's not because of Slash from Guns N' Roses, although he certainly plays slash chords a lot, but so what's in the bass there? That's what's important. So C, but if you have those notes, the same notes of the chord, but they're arranged differently. So that's what they're called inversions, inverting it around. So now the third is in the bass. And if you're playing guitar, you're playing with a band, you don't have to always be playing the root and the bottom. I mean, if you think about it, that gets boring, because if you're playing in a band and there's a bass player, they're a lot of times playing the root or kind of playing around the root. So they got that held down. So you can play the chords any way you want, and it'll together collectively still sound like, say in this case, a C chord if they're laying down a C, So it really kind of opens things up and makes you play your chords different ways. They sound different, and you can connect them in different ways, as we'll look in future episodes about how to have what they call voice leading and connecting chords in very specific ways, so it's not just random. But this is the starting point of knowing how to play the chords with inversions. So the first one for these right here is called a root position. So it's actually not an inversion, because it is what it is. Then right here, when you put the third in the bass, it's called a first inversion. And that's a little tricky, because I used to get it confused thinking, that the first one would be first, and then the second one is like, but it's actually, again, not inverted, first inversion. And then the next one is putting the fifth in the bass, and that's a second inversion. So you've got root position, first inversion, second inversion. And each one sounds a little different, even though it's the same notes. And that's because the intervals, as I'm always talking about, stressing those intervals, the distance between the notes, are now different. You have a bigger leap right there. You have a perfect fourth, and a perfect fourth has a much more distinct sound than any type of third. So now with that in there, and then also here, it's going from right there to there, And again, the slash chord, I forgot to explain more what that means, but the C/G. So that means the G is in the bass. So the chord on the left is what you're playing. The one on the right is referring to the bass. And not necessarily a bass player playing it, they could be, but the bass meaning the lowest note. And I also used to get confused with that. I used to think that it was like two chords together or something. And then one day I realized it's a fraction, And if you flip the fraction, so it's not just the slash, but it was the lines this way, you had C over a G. I was like, that makes more sense, because the C's on top, it's the dominant one, and then the G is on the bottom, and that's the low note, so the low one in sound, or in this case, C over E, so it's over that E note. So that's what a slash chord is. So it's a way of showing, labeling specific inversions. So if there's some music you're reading and they want you to play a specific inversion, they could say, first inversion, but a lot of people don't know what that is, so they say C/E, right? So now moving on, we can do these same things for seventh chords, and we'll just do a dominant seventh as an example, but we can do it for any of the 5 seventh chords. We looked at that in the last episode, and that would be a C7 root position, and then C7 over E, so first inversion, and then second inversion, and then now a third inversion. So you can get that extra one, the third inversion, because we've got that extra note in there, and that B flat, so that dominant seventh chord tone is in the bass. And again, these all have a different sound, so you want to mess around them, get familiar with what they are and what they sound like, and try them out for different chords, not just for C, but try them out for D, and then for all the different triads, and seventh chord versions. That's a lot of stuff. This is where, it can get really deep, and it's not something you just kind of do and get it. It's not something you just watch a YouTube video and like, oh, I got it. Oh, I didn't know what inversions of chords were before, but now I got it. No problem. You can actually spend a lifetime working on this, and it's something that I've spent insane amount of hours working on and will continue to as long as I'm here and playing music. So just take it, one little thing at a time. Just hopefully that concept is there, and you get these sounds in your ears and hopefully on your fingers on your instrument as well. And if you get time, check out this next video. We're going to start diving into playing in a key and what that means. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.